Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce our next guest speaker for today. It's the Deputy Commander of the Azov Battalion, Yaroslav Gonchar. The topic of the press briefing is going to be what really happened on May 9th in Mariupol. Шановні колеги, наступним спікером
The next speaker will be Yaroslav Gonchar, and he will be talking about what really happened on May 9 in Mariupol. Good afternoon. I am Gonchar Yaroslav. I am the Deputy Commander of the Battalion Azov. At Azov Coast, my group has been there for 3 weeks already. You probably saw the video in the internet, the video interview with the representative of Oplot, and he was telling about the situation in Berdyansk. I was invited to today's conference to tell you about the situation, about what really was happening on May 9 in Mariupol, in the house of the ministry, in the building of the Ministry of the Interior of Mariupol. I have a memo with me, and that's information from several of my sources. After that, I will tell you how the events were taking place in my group. On the 9th of May, at 9 o'clock, the meeting started at the Mariupol Department of Ministry of Interior. Andrishchuk, who's the head of the Ministry of Interior in Mariupol, immediately after the meeting went to Bily and Khatlubey. Khatlubey is the mayor of Mariupol, and Bily is one of the MPs of the Party of Regions. At 10 o'clock the meeting continued. Those who were present at the meeting: Andrushchuk, Poboyny, Sayenko, the deceased Pokoyny, the head of Mariupol traffic police, Nabok, a person who was the head of the anti-terrorist operation in Mariupol, Lysenko, the representative of Dnieper Battalion, Savitsky, Paniotov, Demidenko, Dermin. Dermin is the head of the headquarters of 72nd Brigade of the Ministry of Defense. At 10:03, the seizure of the building started. Those who were present at the meeting saw 10 armed people in black uniform and everyday clothes. They blocked the entry on the 3rd floor where the office of the head of the Ministry of Interior of Mariupol is. The terrorists entered via central entrance. Someone let them in. The rest were in the street and they were shooting, and they started to barricade the street using the waste bins for that. Opposite the building, the hostages saw the sniper who was on the roof opposite the building of the Ministry of Interior. At 11:45, Azov Battalion started operation on freeing the hostages and the building. Before the beginning of the operation, the building was not basically harmed. Everything, all the building was intact. The central door, but there were shots inside the building. In 15 minutes after the beginning of the operation, the ground floor was freed from terrorists. After that, the military of the 72nd Brigade joined this operation, and also the servicemen of the Ministry of the Interior. I'm sorry to say that, but because of the servicemen of the Ministry of Interior, the operation failed. They made impossible to conduct the operation because by their actions they were hampering. At that time, the meeting of civil people, and there were about 1,000 people who were pro-Russian. Some of them were armed. They approached the building. Further on, these people were shooting at the military and the representative of special forces. The brigade, 72nd Brigade, started shooting at the building. After that, the building caught fire. The hostages were saved from the third floor with the assistance of the fire brigade machines. According to the preliminary data, the person called Mangust was directing the activities. The total number of terrorists was 20 armed people. Their objective was to scare the people and destabilize the situation in the town so that the illegal referendum on the 11th of May could be held there. Now I can tell you actually how the events were developing in my unit. At 10 o'clock, at 10:04, I had a phone call from Nabok, the person who introduced himself as the head of anti-terrorist operation in Mariupol. He informed me that the building is being seized and he requested for assistance. I would like to emphasize that that person, I have not seen this person because the previous head of the operation, Mr. Lebedь, I worked with him for 2 days before, but he went to Donetsk and he recommended Mr. Naboka over the phone. So Mr. Nabok requested for assistance. I started asking him about the disposition, what's happening, how many people are there, how are they armed, what's the uniform, are the people from Ministry of Interior armed, are there any people outside in the street, are there any observers? I could not get any clear answers to these questions. After that, I sent my observers to monitor the situation around the building. My group was not in the city, it was located outside of the city at the distance of approximately 15-20 kilometers. Sometime later I started getting the information that really certain events are taking place. However, they heard the machine gun shots, but they could not understand in which direction they are shooting. When the observer, who was 1 block away, came close to the place of events, he commented what he saw. According to him, there were about a dozen of people walking back and forth in the street. They were pushing the waste bins. There were no armed people. At that time, there were no shots heard. The building was closed. There was no militia, no one in the street. I started verifying this information. After that, Mr. Lebedь called me and he confirmed that the building of the ministry is being seized, and he also requested for assistance. We came actually to Mariupol to help Ukrainian militia in their fight against separatists and terrorists. We could not refuse them, but the group was equipped not well, not completely. Not all members of the group had the equipment of the militiamen. Some we didn't have uniforms. Some people in my group were dressed as civil people, as civilian. And I informed Lebedь. I said, can you imagine if people in civilian clothes, start helping you? Can you imagine what may happen? And I again asked for the information which the military of 72nd Brigade have and the border guards have. Everyone confirmed that the building is being seized, and the 72nd Brigade was moving to the city, was sent to the city, because according to the information that was confirmed in the building, and there was one military among the hostages. So this way we moved to this region where the building of militia of Mariupol is located. 2 blocks away from the building we parked our vehicles and we went to the place of events. At the place of events we have not seen anyone in the street. There were no one there, all the windows were intact, the doors were closed. I walked along the building to the crossroad, and the sniper started shooting at us, and we understood that that is not a fake. I'm talking about fakes because similar pieces of information we received quite often. On the 8th of May, we were asked to stop some trucks which sort of crossed the border from Lugansk Oblast, and they were to be stopped because they were sort of moving to Mariupol. These were the situations which were frequent. We got information from different sources. So in Mariupol, in Donetsk region, you have to be very careful with all such information. Because very often these are the traps or provocations. The base where we were was shot at night by snipers, and thanks to the 72nd Brigade we managed to combat, to fight back, sorry. So when we realized that that was the sniper, we moved, then the shooting from windows started, then myself with 4 other friends of mine, colleagues of mine, we entered the yard of the militia, we opened the gate and we entered the inner yard. In the inner yard we did not see any signs of some fighting going on outside. We broke the gate, the grid in the window. We put away the grid from the window. We via the window we got into the shower room, then we got to the corridor, and there was some fighting. There was a shooting going on there for 20 minutes. 4 attackers perished, 3 in the room where the weapons were stored, and 1 in the corridor. When we when we passed the corridor and we stopped at the stairway that goes to the 2nd floor, all that time we were talking by the phone with Mr. Nabokov and Andrushak, the head of the militia. All the time we were saying, we are working, stay at the 3rd floor, don't let them take you as hostages, barricade yourselves. My last my last call with Andrushuk was that we freed the 2nd floor and please stay there. Soon we'll be with you. After that we went all along the ground floor till the door that through which you can get to the facade of the building. And that's the thick door, about 10 centimeters thick, and from the middle of the building they were blocked by the sacks with sand. We opened the door to invite some assistance, to let some assistance to the inside the building, the military men, Dnieper battalion. At that time the Rodion was just shooting, and one of the terrorists hit himself in the inner yard between the cars. He was afraid to attack us when there were many of us. When Rodion was on his own in the yard, this man shot him into his back. And in several minutes, the terrorist was killed. Opening the door, having opened the door, I went outside. There was a signal, and Andrushuk had to send this signal to all the heads of the units which participated in this operation of liberating the building of the militia. But what happened was that the servicemen of the unit of the militia from Mariupol, either they did not know what the signal was, maybe they ignored that signal, but they arrested myself and the rest of the group. They disarmed us, they put handcuffs on us, and they put us in the street behind the armored vehicle. All the signal, we were telling them that the ground floor is free, that the hostages are on the third floor. They wouldn't react to that, but thank God the people from the Ministry of Defense were close by. They recognized us, they knew us personally, and they heard, they listened to us, and they knew that they shouldn't be shooting on the ground floor and on the third floor, because all the terrorists were on the second floor. After that, this meeting of civilian people approached, and the chaos started. The civilians, they were not letting the armored vehicle to move. Part of the arrested friends of mine, they were together with the military, because the situation was such that the military were withdrawing, and we who were arrested but in civil clothes, we were on the floor near the building of the militia. I managed to move aside, and my colleagues took the handcuffs off me, and we took the body of Rodion away from the yard of the militia, but the crowd of civilian people started moving from another side of the building, so this way we were blocked by the crowd of pro-Russian protesters, people from Mariupol. At that time, I saw how I heard the shot, and I saw how the second head of the unit was wounded. In our group we have 3 units, Alpha, Beta and Delta. The head of Beta unit was Rodion, he was killed. The head of Beta unit was wounded into leg from the sniper wounded him. I would like to emphasize that Alexander was dressed up in the uniform of the militiaman. There were big letters saying militia in his back. The sniper was shooting the militiaman, was shooting at militiamen. Again, we had to retreat inside the yard of the building, of the militia building. Next to that was some plant or something, and we broke the window of that building. We went inside, we removed some doors. We just put this bandage on the leg of Alexander. We wrote the time when we did it. It was 1 o'clock. We put him on the door, and the building was already on fire. The building was in smoke. The smoke was everywhere. The military were trying to stretch the tents so that people who are there could jump out, so that they don't break legs and arms. After later, fire brigade came. We put Alexander on the door, and we started to retreat to the block, where in the nearby building was our vehicle. There was a crowd of civilians, and there was quite a fierce discussion there, because they were putting ultimatum. They were saying that only if we disarm ourselves, they will let us go. But because at that time we are servicemen of Ministry of Interior, we cannot surrender the weapons because that's a crime. So we convinced them that we will not surrender the arms, and they have to make a corridor so that we can walk. So walking along the corridor, we came into the building where our vehicle was. We had a brief interval there. We had some water, smoked a cigarette, but again the sniper started shooting at the building. In our group we have people who know how to use sniper weapons, and we basically killed the sniper. That sniper was on the building of some musical institution, conservatoire or something. I don't know exactly whether we killed him or wounded, but he fell from very high building, and there were no chances for him to survive. After that, we in the vehicle retreated to the checkpoint. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about what happened to Alexander. While we had that, there was this shooting we had this discussion with civilians in the street. We were trying to call the ambulance, and all the transportation refused. But thanks to the efforts of the local activists, of the patriots that are there, they managed to do that. They even reached the head of the Department of the Public Health, and only this way we got the ambulance, and Sashkov was put into the ambulance. One of my persons went with him. That was about possible amputation. But we were trying to convince, we were asking the doctors to put maximum efforts. There was a surgery made. Then the helicopter came in the evening. By helicopter he was taken to Dnipropetrovsk, and the next surgery was made. And before this press conference I got the information that his health is getting worse again, and the assistance is needed to transport him to some clinic outside of our country where they can give him specialized medical assistance to save his leg. We moved to the checkpoint, which is on the side of Berdyansk, but there were separatists gathering at the gas station parallel. There were about 40 or 50 cars with people inside there. We realized that Rodion is still in the city, and we had to take him with us. We put on some different clothes. We found some different transportation. We went to the place of events. We were informed that separatists are taking photos with a friend of mine who was killed. They took money from his pockets, the keys from his car, and put these photographs in the internet, download them in the internet. But we came an hour late and we did not find Rodion's body there. That's the story of the 9th of May. Dear colleagues, if you have questions to our guest.
Питання?
One plus one TV channel. I have several questions. The first one, it's on what you were saying, that the interior forces made it impossible to conduct the operation. What happened? How was it possible for them to make it impossible? Because when leaving the building of the Ministry of Interior, informing about the signal that they had to, hearing that they had to render assistance to our group, instead of that we were arrested. After that, maybe I will tell you more. 3 guys who were on the floor, they retreated together with military, and they were given to the people from the interior forces. And the information was that in Mariupol 4 separatists were detained. I can tell you that out of these 4, 3 are from my group, and the 4th is the head of the security service of Mariupol. Could you, in more details, tell us how the assault started? How did they detain you? Again, we came to this building of the Ministry of Interior. At that time, there was no one near the building, no one. The military of the 72nd Brigade were put along the perimeter to keep the civilians away, because you know people just go to the vehicles and they do not let the special units operate. Then we entered the building of the military of militia. When I opened the door, I saw the equipment, I saw military, I saw Dnieper battalion, I saw the people from the Ministry of Interior. When I told what my password was or what my signal was, everyone reacted to that, but the people, but the representatives of militia. I was arrested by them there. It was because you were not in uniform, right? And another question about Rodion. You said that you did not find his body. Have you found his body later? Was there any chance to save him when he was shot? No. We have a doctor in our team. Together with the doctor, we were taking away Rodion from the place where he was killed. We moved his body to the corner of the building where they could not shoot, and the doctor stated the death. Where did you find him? In the evening we were trying to find him. We can also request activists for assistance. We requested people to explain what the situation was there. First they were saying that his body is just on the road, and those people were taking pictures with him. When we were organizing the vehicle, while we were changing our clothes, he disappeared. Next day he was found in the mortuary. But why he was left alone? You said that he was in the street alone. No, I need to draw you a scheme. When there is a battle going on, a fight going on. People do not walk as a crowd. Every military has a sector. He was in his sector. Another serviceman, military saw him. But what happened that inside this, in this inner yard, and there was a terrorist hiding himself between the cars. If he were more courageous, he could shoot every one of us in the back, but he probably was scared, and he was hiding there between the cars. When Rodion started moving to his sector, he realized that he will be noticed. He had no other way but, he started shooting. Was Rodion the member of Azov battalion? Yes, all the servicemen, all, because in the internet we read about Avtomaidan. The group is formed from the activists of Avtomaidan. Any other questions? Do you have a question? Channel 5. We would like to hear conclusions. You told us in detail what happened, but we were listening, we were making notes, but I'm interested. The leadership of anti-terrorist operation, what's your attitude to them? They requested you for assistance, but you were the only ones who were freeing the building. Do you feel that they wanted just to use you and they sent you to death? Can you tell us what are your conclusions? You answered your own question, actually. I can tell you, 3 weeks. For 3 weeks we are at the Azov coast. And my personal observation is that this situation cannot be resolved by the methods, same methods that were used before. The attempts of so-called liberating the buildings of administrations. It's impossible to operate there using these methods. People in the streets, they are like zombies, because they sincerely believe that these are fascists, that we were seizing the militia. They sincerely believe that. You need to speak to these people, to explain things. No one is doing it. I'm not saying that you should be sitting there doing nothing. There are many questions to organization of anti-terrorist operation in Mariupol. For 2 days, together with Lebed, with Andrushuk, with his colleagues, for 2 days we were discussing the situation. My own observation, in the office, there's no even the scheme, the plan of the city. There are no plans of the buildings seized. There's no information about the instigators. And all the plans are, they just go there and it's like go there and beat everyone. But you cannot do it with people who sincerely believe that we are fascists and we are attackers. That the right sector, when they hear the words right sector, they faint. No one saw them, but when you say right sector, the hysteria starts there. But I believe that they basically put us in a trap. No, basically you should never criticize the authorities during the war, but I demand from the leaders of the state, from the commander-in-chief, from the Minister of the Interior, the head of the security service, I demand them to do the detailed investigation, to conduct the detailed investigation. We can help them a lot in that, because we have a lot of information which is documented. These are audio files, video files. which will help to understand the situation, who and how acted in this situation. You can understand there were traitors there. I can make my conclusion that there is no militia in Donetsk Oblast. There are some people in uniforms, but to count that they will be protecting the order, that they will be defending the citizens and the constitution of Ukraine, it's impossible. Some of the militiamen who are really trying to do something, they are killed, like Victor, like the head of traffic police, the person who was helping us. Such people are killed. Such people as Radion are killed. The next question. Can you please tell what is the military training of the members of battalion? How was the battalion formed? Did you have any training and for how long? I cannot tell you that we had a special course of training for special purpose units, but every one of the members of the group has a very big life experience which allows us to adequately act in such situations. The head of militia, how was the head of militia of Mariupol seized, detained? The head of militia, I did not see it myself. The head of militia was evacuated by fire brigade. By that moment we were withdrawing, retreating together with wounded. Could you please tell, the Mangust, you said, you mentioned the name Mangust, that he was leading the seizure from the side of separatists. Was he arrested? What happened to him? Thank you for your question. Sorry, I missed that. When the sniper shot at Alexander and we again had to go back to the inner yard of the militia building, at that moment people started running out of the building. One person was just in basically short pants. It was a way for terrorists to get to escape. And one of the members of our group recognized Mangust. He was arrested and he was then given to the militia. Later we found out that he was let free. You said that the activists of Mariupol were helping you. Were the authorities helping you? Was the mayor of the city or MPs helping you? Did Andrushuk cooperate with the mayor, or did he interact with the mayor? I have an information, operational information, that before and after the events on the 8th of May and the 9th of May, Andrushuk met with two persons, with Khatlubey, who's the mayor of Mariupol, and the member of party of regions BLA. I also have the information that these two talked to the governor of the oblast, where they discussed the possible options for further development of the events, and one of them was declaring Donetsk People's Republic. After all these meetings with BLA and Khatlubey, the events started developing in the building of the militia. I believe that investigation will, after the investigation, we will be able to say something more clearly. As to my meeting Khatlubeya, I met him. It was when there was a meeting for United Ukraine, but what I can tell you, I came to the building of the conservatoire, I believe, or the theater, drama theater in the central square, The mayor of the city is there. I introduced myself, and what I saw was he was leading in the meeting, well, in such a way. Some people came there not because they were willing to do so, but because they had to do that, and we could see it clearly. Immediately after his speech, part of people left the meeting, and those who stayed, these were people who, in fact, are the patriots of the country, who were not repeating something that they were told to say, but they were talking from their hearts. One guy with the child just read a poem in Ukrainian. And one more question, the last one. You've been there for 3 weeks. Can you tell? Do you have information, working closely with militiamen? How many people were arrested? How many criminal cases were started on Article 109, 110? And how many people, workers of militia, was there at least one criminal case filed? Not a single case. Not a single case. I wanted everyone to hear that. You are there and you understand that this is either a theater performance or a fiction taking place, anti-terrorist operation. A person comes in civilian, he says, I'm the head. Then the heads of militia joined him, the representatives of battalions, like our battalion, I invited. I asked the question, where's the head of security service? Because when you're planning anti-terrorist operation, but they say he's a scoundrel, he's just managing the cash flows. And then I ask, okay, you are all decent people, where's the plan of the building which you want to liberate? Just think about that. You're planning. A group is called. They call for the group. They say, we will give you, no. They say, we were with our weapons, with hunting weapons. And the plan of operation is, we have to stand 50 meters in front of the building, 50 meters in the back. There will be the militiamen armed with machine guns. Someone in the building will start fire. People will start coming out of the building. Our task is arrest them and give them to the militiamen. If they start resistance, we are allowed to start killing them. I was looking at them and saying, how do you imagine it? 2 o'clock at night, the building is firing and civilians are shooting civilians. That's the level of organization. Thank you. That was Yaroslav Gonchar, the deputy commander of the battalion Azov. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yaroslav Gonchar, the deputy commander of the Azov battalion. Thank you very much. That's the end of it for today.